The shocking truth about the carnivore diet and why I think, why I believe, why I know, and why I understand the importance of the carnivore diet. You see, people are getting healed, people are getting, people are restoring their bodies of all types of ailments. I know for myself, I was one of them. People are being healed from acne, psoriasis, all types of issues that they're dealing with that they were dealing with in their bodies. And here's the thing: when people hear about the carnivore diet, when it's explained to them, they say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Wait a minute! So all they do is eat meat? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Wait a minute! They exclude vegetables? Whoa, whoa, whoa! Whoa, wait a minute! You can't do that. That's unhealthy." So I'm going to dive into some narratives that are put out there when it comes to the carnivore diet, but in general, when it comes to nutrition. So, point one: when we talk about health, when we talk about nutrition, when we talk about diet, we have to understand what we're really talking about. Okay? So, when it comes to the human anatomy, what are we talking about when we say healthy, unhealthy? What does that mean for a person that looks like you, a person that looks like me? What does that mean? Man, woman, boy, girl, tall, skinny, short, fat. What does that mean? It means that when you consume any type of food, right, whether it's plants, whether it's meat, whether it's fruit, when you consume anything, it goes into the stomach and then it breaks down and it goes into the small intestines. Why is that important? So if you eat plants, right, like kale or spinach, right, it goes into the small intestines. But here's the issue with kale, spinach: it has something called cellulose. All plant matter has something called cellulose, whether it's fruits or vegetables. Cellulose is another word for fiber. Fiber goes relatively undigested in the human body. Those are facts. And so that means that the human body, right, the small intestines, does not have the ability to digest fiber. Why is that important? Here's why it's important. Did you know that the small intestines is responsible for 60 to 90% of all nutrient absorption? I'm going to repeat myself. The small intestines is responsible for 60 to 90% of nutrient absorption. What does that mean? That means that when you consume anything that you call food, right, it's supposed to be absorbed, the nutrients from that, the vitamins, the minerals, the protein, the fats, the carbs, they're supposed to be absorbed by the small intestines. And so anything that goes past the small intestines goes into the colon, and the colon is responsible for about 5 to 10% of nutrient absorption, basically what's left over, right? And so if you're consuming cellulose, right, kale, spinach, lettuce, corn, all the different plant matter, and it bypasses the small intestines and it goes into the colon, how are you getting available nutrients from that? Here's the thing. One of the reasons why the body, the human body, is incapable of digesting enough nutrients. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't get any nutrients, but it's not enough to sustain you for a very long time. The reason why is because the human body is not the same as a cow or a sheep or a goat. Why is that? Because the cow, the sheep, the goat, they have something called a stomach with 4 compartments, or they have 4 stomachs. The better explanation is they have 4 stomachs. Why is that important? Because each one of those stomachs is responsible for breaking that food down. But one key component that they have on us is that they're able to penetrate the cell wall of cellulose, whereas we don't have that ability. So it goes straight to the colon. They have 4 stomachs, and each stomach has a process that breaks down that cellulose, and they absorb it for nutrients. Here's the other thing. When you consume meat of any kind, meat does not have a cell wall. So the human body is able to consume, digest, and when the meat gets into the small intestines absorbs the nutrients. It takes the fat and puts it into the lymphatic system, and everything else gets absorbed into the bloodstream for nutrients. That's why meat takes a longer time to process, because it's actually breaking down within the small intestines. And what's left over goes into the colon, and then it comes out into the bathroom, into the toilet. And so when we say, or when a person say, listen, why consume plants and vegetables in such high quantity? Now listen to me. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with eating fruit. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with eating plants. What I'm saying to you is the bulk of your nutrients should be coming from animal base, because that is the way the human body absorbs nutrients into the body. So when it comes to the meat, you have to understand, here are things that meat contain that you cannot find in fruits and vegetables. You cannot find something called heme iron. Heme iron is responsible for building the blood. You can't find something called D3 in plant matter. You can't find DHA. You can't find creatine, right? When you eat foods high in saturated fat, there's something called retinol, right? The real vitamin that's responsible for your eyesight, right? And so there's all these things that are important when you consume an animal-based diet. And so I can tell you right now, my experience being on a carnivore diet, the mental clarity for me is extreme today, right? When I was on a plant-based diet, I was forgetting things all the time. I had a lot of brain fog and fatigue, dizzy spells. I would be dizzy all the time. Low energy. My eyesight started getting worse. Why is that? Because I was lacking the necessary nutrients that comes from animal base. I was hungry all the time. I was always hungry because the food that you think you're consuming is bypassing the single most important organ for nutrient absorption. So, the carnivore diet. The shocking thing about the carnivore diet is that you're getting the nutrients that the body actually needs. Meat is not the problem. The problem is the seed oils. The problem is all the processed foods that we consume. That is the root of the cause of many of the problems that we deal with. So hopefully this helped you. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how the human body actually works. Hopefully you have a better understanding of plant matter, which is cellulose, which have a cell wall, which the human body is incapable of digesting, versus meat, which has no cell wall, which gets absorbed into the small intestines. Don't just take my word for it, right? I'm just a researcher. What about you? Go research something. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time.